The Avengers have tons of villains, but no one hates them more than these ones. There is no one that hates the Hulk more than Red Hulk. Red Hulk is the nemesis of the Hulk, which also means at times that he is at odds with the Avengers team, since the Hulk is often a mainstay member of the Avengers. Red Hulk is General Thaddeus Ross, a man who has had it out for the Hulk pretty much since day one. For a long time, there was nothing that General Ross wouldn't do to try to get to the Hulk and destroy him. His hatred came from a place of feeling that the Hulk was a dangerous menace, but even when Ross himself became a Hulk, turning into the Red Hulk, his hatred of the original Green Hulk did not subside. In fact, if anything, it only seemed to intensify because now Ross, like Banner, was really angry. And like Banner, you wouldn't like him when he's angry. Which Avengers villain do you think is the most powerful? That is a pretty good question. I feel like Red Hulk has to be up there if we do a list like that, you know? Red Hulk's pretty powerful. Loki is a villain who started out as the Avengers villain at the beginning of the Avengers run. We're talking about the original Avengers run back in the 1960s. Loki is the first villain that they face in issue number 1. Loki, of course, not only has beef with the Avengers, but specifically has a lot of beef with one of their members, his brother Thor, who is of course one of the mainstays on that first initial roster for the team. But in issue number 1, that doesn't mean that Loki just goes after Thor. In fact, he actually tries to destabilize the Avengers by making it appear as though the Hulk has gone off and gone rogue. Loki isn't just about messing with Thor, he's also about creating instability on this team, which is also something we see with the MCU depiction of the character. This is also something that makes him very skilled and very scary as an Avengers villain, because he doesn't just attack the Avengers head on, he's sometimes a threat that they can't quite see. He tries to undermine the whole team and do so in a way that they don't even notice at times that they're just being messed with. Daken is the son of Wolverine, who actually currently goes by his given name of Akihiro, currently in the comics. The name Daken was actually a cruel nickname that Akihiro initially just adopted as his own. Daken in Japanese translates to cur or mongrel in English, and was used in reference to the fact that Akihiro was of mixed race. His mother was of course a Japanese woman, Itsu, who was slain before she could give birth to Daken, and his father was Wolverine, who believed that their unborn child had also perished along with his wife, and didn't actually know that Daken had actually been stolen and did indeed survive following Itsu's death. Daken was raised to hate his father and would grow up to become a villain, and specifically an enemy of Wolverine. Norman would even recruit Daken to become his stand-in Wolverine for his Dark Avengers team. And if you're wondering how this made him a hater of the Avengers, not the X-Men, that would be because Wolverine was actually on the Avengers team. Yeah, Wolverine's actually been an Avenger. Though I'm sure Daken was also not a fan of the X-Men either in the early days, considering yes, his dad is known for also being a prominent member of that superhero mutant team that we all love as well. The Red Ghost was originally a Fantastic Four villain. He's a Russian communist who was known for his mad science. He studied and sought to recreate the mutating effects of the cosmic rays, which were responsible of course for giving the Fantastic Four their powers. Ivan Kragoff built a ceramic ship, sounds really heavy, and went up into space with a team of apes. He and his apes gained powers. Ivan himself gained the ability to appear intangible, hence his name as the Red Ghost, and became the leader of the Super Apes. Later on, he would team up with the Mole Man and end up fighting the Avengers while they attempted to rescue their kidnapped teammate, Giant Man, from Mole Man's clutches. He was also thwarted of course by the Avengers later on when he attempted to rob a bank with this team of Super Apes. He may have started as an FF villain, but you can bet he has many reasons to hate the Avengers team as well. The Wrecking Crew is a villainous entourage who appear as sort of blue-collar construction workers. In reality, they are Dirk Garthwaite, who was the original Wrecker, and his team comprised of Thunderball, aka Elliot Franklin, previously a physicist, Bulldozer, previously a military sergeant known as Henry Camp, Pile Driver, aka Brian Kaluski, who used to be a farmer. They received their powers when they all came into contact with a crowbar as it was struck by some magical lightning. Good old magical lightning giving people powers. They have attempted to take hold of the Avengers Mansion on more than one occasion, teaming up with the Masters of Evil during one of their attempts, and kidnapping Misty Knight and using her to control Iron Fist another time. They're usually handily defeated by the Avengers whenever they go up against the team, however. It seems that having magical construction equipment and mystical abilities is just not enough to defeat the Avengers. Ultron hates a lot of folks. Pretty much if you aren't a robot, Ultron is not a fan of you. Honestly, if you aren't Ultron, I feel like Ultron is sometimes just not a fan of you, but I digress. Some of Ultron's Ultron's first words upon his creation spoke towards the hatred he felt for the Avengers. Not directly, but more indirectly in regard to the fact that many of them were human and all of them protected, of course, the human race. Shortly after being created by Hank Pym in the comics, Ultron had a realization, saying, "I know now that it is time to put your species out of its misery. You serve no value, you serve no purpose." Just like in the films, Ultron has had it out for humanity pretty much since his creation, which not only puts him at odds with the Avengers, but also means he despises most of the Avengers team too, as many of the members of that core team, while super, are also human. Not all, but I would say enough of them. Also adding the fact that his father Hank Pym is on the team, and Ultron has of course never been a fan of his dad. Moonstone is someone that I've actually wanted to see for a while in the MCU, but we haven't seen her yet. She's not the only Dark Avenger stand-in for Carol Danvers in her former mantle as Miss Marvel, but has also been a member of the Thunderbolts as well. Norman chose Karla Sofin to become his Miss Marvel after Carol refused to join Osborn's Dark Avengers team. Karla is also a major antagonist to Carol herself, having a history with the Marvel name prior to her time serving on the Dark Avengers. If anyone has beef with Carol and the Avengers, it's Karla. For her, the feud is also quite personal. You might only think of him as a Spider-Man villain, but Norman Osborn is a surprisingly powerful Avengers villain as well. And while he does often hate Peter, he also has been known to hate Spider-Man's colleagues, the Avengers, as well at times. He created his own entire team of Dark Avengers in his attempt to oppose and replace them. He even tried to recruit some of the Avengers members to this team, but of course, they refused. During his time as leader of the Hammer organization and of the Dark Avengers, Norman also gave himself a place on the team, replacing Iron Man as the Iron Patriot. Of course, he is much more sinister and obsessive than any version of Tony could ever be. Norman as Iron Patriot is not only a team member, but is also the one who ultimately decides who he wants on his team, recruiting other Avengers villains and turning them into alternate versions of their opposing heroes. Baron Zemo is one of my favorite villains when it comes to any and all that he opposes, but I think I especially love him as an Avengers villain. Zemo, while certainly dangerous on his own, is also well known for leading his own popular villain group, the Masters of Evil. Not only is this group formidable as rivals to the Avengers, but they also at one point attempted to defeat the Avengers by basically beating them at their own game. Yeah, this was when Baron Zemo came up with the plan to disguise the team and rebrand them as a hero group, attempting to beat the Avengers at their own thing that they do by just replacing the Avengers. Enter the Thunderbolts, the initial Thunderbolts team, that is. It wouldn't be revealed till after this team had made a name for themselves both in canon and in comics who they truly were, and honestly it was quite the impressive twist. The Triune Understanding was an organization led by Jonathan Tremont. It was originally believed to be an organization focused on maximizing human potential, although it was later revealed to have a more sinister motive. Tremont specifically used the organization and its resources to create a smear campaign to be used against the Avengers. He claimed the Avengers were intolerant of various religions and races. He also used his villainous brothers, Lord Templar and Pagan, in an attack against the Avengers, which he then used to blame the superhero team for in regards to all the destruction that the fight had caused. What's truly wild is although this organization is not one of the most well-known Avengers enemies, the Triune Understanding still succeeded in getting both Thor and Captain America to leave the team for a while. So not only do they really hate the Avengers, but they're also kind of successful in their villainous schemes. That's about it. I'm your host Amanda McKnight, and until next time, you stay nerdy.